Des Moines, and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Mac's World Live. Mac's World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Mac's World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Mac's World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
Good afternoon. It's 6 minutes after 4. Here on the 10th day of March in the Lord's year 2016, J. Michael McCoy just having fun with you today. Here in Mac's World on 99.3, I've got a whole studio full of wonderful people, and then I have Frank producing. Spencer Keroff is here. He is the pastor at First Church of the Open Bible. Services at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, but we have a little announcement about that.
Absolutely.
Okay. And we have Mike Neeland from Blue Marble Journeys, who is strictly a faith-based tour company. Is that a way to put it?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, that doesn't mean... Does that mean you always go to faith-based destinations?
Primarily that, or at least the purpose of your trip is going to have a faith-based element. You're going to be intentional about including God on your vacation.
All right, so we don't go to Vegas for the 3-day poker tournament.
I think not.
Okay. And then Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, watching the chat. There's 2 ways to reach us right now. You can text us at the Service Legends Truth text line at 515-809-0993. I hope you put that in your phone. You put it in your address book. You may have nothing to say today. You may have nothing to say tomorrow. You may have nothing to say next week. But when it comes to Nick after that, you're going to have a question, and you're going to wonder what the number is. And you're going to say, gosh darn it, Mac told me to write it down, and I didn't write it down. So write it down. 515-809-0993. That is the text line. The call-in number where you can have your voice heard on the radio is 515-244-0077. All right. True the story? Never mind. I'm not going to tell you. There was just this great story that I thought only in Des Moines, and I thought it was hilarious, and then Chris reminded me maybe it wasn't so funny, so I'm not going to repeat it. Well, it has to do with a naked man chasing a 15-year-old girl.
Half naked.
Half naked?
That's what you said.
Okay. Half naked man with a shotgun trying to force a 15-year-old East High School girl into his car. So I just think that's it, only in Iowa would that happen. All right. You know what's interesting about you, Spencer? I was thinking about whether I was going to say this to you today, and my filters aren't on very well today, so I'm going to say it. You are 2 different people.
I am.
When I have you in the studio, you are nice and polite and soft-spoken,
Cool, calm, collected.
and you follow what we're doing. And you're. But when I listen to you preach, you really do have a bonfire in back of you, don't you? I mean, you preach so differently than when you and I just talk.
Well, you know, part of that is while I'm preaching, there's somebody in our intercessor's prayer room praying for me the whole service.
Okay.
So they're lighting a fire underneath me.
They are, and you can hear Spencer every day from
12:45 to 1.
12:45 to 1 o'clock. And when you hear him, the first time I heard him on the air, did I ever tell you this story?
No.
First time I heard you on the air, I called Chris, and I said, who's this guy, a new national preacher? No, he's local. No, he's not. Yeah, he is. First Church of the Open Bible. You just have that. You're just very good at what you do. And a lot of times you get a text from me, but you could get a text from me every day, and that text is usually, man, did you nail that one today? Got that one. So anyway, you can hear that at 12:45 every day here on The Truth. Now, in a minute, we're going to talk about, what did I say, 1 Corinthians?
1 Corinthians 16.
16, 8 and 9. So open your Bibles, get to 1 Corinthians 16, 8 and 9, and we're going to talk about that. And if you read my Facebook post or my latest blog, it's about, it starts out by saying, are you hiding from God's call on His will for your life? And is it because of fear of those who oppose you? And 1 Corinthians 16, 8, and 9 is Paul writing to the letter at Corinth. And he says, I'm going to hang out here at Ephesus until Pentecost because there's a huge door for effective work that is open to me. but I know there are many who oppose me. And I hope everybody in ministry, well, actually, I hope nobody in ministry can relate to that, but I think everybody in ministry can relate to that.
Absolutely.
And we focus on the one who opposes us rather than the 99 who are following us. And so that's what I want to talk about when we get going here on the show. But first, I want to learn about your trip. Give me that, no, underneath, the white paper. There you go. Bless your heart. Mike Nealand is here from Blue Marble Journeys, and I want to hear about this tour you're taking to the Ark Creation Museum bus trip. And this is in Tennessee, but it's really right outside of...
It's actually Kentucky. And
Kentucky,
it's
I'm sorry.
Right across the river from Cincinnati, Ohio.
So it's not as far as Nashville.
No, not at all. It's about a 9.5-hour bus ride or a trip. We're heading I have one trip scheduled August 1st through the 4th, and that's 4 days and 3 nights. And I just want to say, Answers in Genesis has created a jewel in the Creation Museum. It's a state-of-the-art, second-to-none museum. I've been to a lot of museums around the country and around the world, and this museum holds its own. It will lay open the Bible to you, show you the truth as revealed in Scripture, as revealed in Genesis. It'll look at, actually, with scientific evidence from individuals who are trained in geology, individuals who are trained in archaeology, individuals who are trained, they're scientists who attest to a young Earth. And anyway, when we go to that museum, we get it's a full day there. We'll get an opportunity to rest up a little bit, and then the next day we'll head down to the Ark, which is actually 45 minutes south of Petersburg, Kentucky. And the Ark opens up actually July 7th of this year.
Unless it's raining.
Well, if it's raining, more people will go to the Ark, I'm sure.
There you go.
At least 4, the sons of Noah and such. But the Ark, that's, by the way, 7:7 Genesis is when Noah entered the Ark. So their reason for opening is biblical. But anyway, so we'll be there about a month after, get a chance to experience it, and this will be one of the first groups that gets a chance to go to it. So
what I want you to do is to find out more information, call Frank at the studio line at 244-0077 and give Frank your name and email, or name and text number, or if you don't have a text, then name and landline, and we'll give with your permission. If you call in, you're giving us permission to give those to Mike, and Mike will call and tell you more about it, because there's just not enough time on the radio to sit here and talk about that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be a hard sell. This is a great opportunity, and we'll give people a chance to hear more about it.
All right. So, Pastor Keroff.
Yes, sir.
Paul has been to Corinth once already when he writes this, correct?
Yep.
And things are going pretty well in Corinth. They were the first church, is that correct?
I don't know that they were the first church, but
okay.
They definitely, when you say things are going well, they definitely had their issues as well.
Well,
but ministry was going well. There's definitely ministry going on.
Okay. Well, am I getting this confused? Is this the one where the second generation was turning away from Christ and he was no, that's Ephesus.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of cities like that.
Okay, all right. I'm not doing very well on this. All right. And so Paul writes, and I'm a big fan of Paul. I'm a huge fan of Paul because I was such a huge fan of Saul. I mean, I was exactly like Saul. Why do you need Jesus? You've got God. Why do I need the Son when I've got the Father? Well, are you a Christian? Heck no, I'm not a Christian. I believe in God. And that was Saul, except he went on and killed him. I never killed any of them. At least not physically. I probably did with my tongue quite a few times.
Yep.
And he says, I'm going to stay on at Ephesus until Pentecost because there's a great door for effective work is open to me. But there are many who oppose me. And here's the blog I wrote. And you stop me anytime. And I want to talk about this. Are you hiding from God's call on his will for your life? And is it because of fear of those who oppose you? Rather than the church in Corinth, what if Paul's letter was written to your ministry, to my ministry, to your ministry, to everybody who's listening, to your ministry, your individual ministry? Remember, if you listen to Mac's World, pastors are not the only people in ministry. You're in ministry. I don't care if you're working at Wells Fargo in a cubicle. You are a ministry. You are called to spread the everlasting love of Jesus Christ around the world and make disciples of all men. You have a ministry. You are on a mission. So what if this letter was written to your ministry? Are you prepared to overcome those that oppose you, including your own fears? That voice in your head, that committee that says, Mac, you're not good enough for God to use in a big way. Oh yeah, you can read scripture at church, and you could help with the men's group, and you could make the coffee on Sunday. But Mac, you can't be a Christian broadcaster and go on and teach and share the word of God. God would never use me in that big of a way. You could never have your own church. You could never go to seminary. You could never start a women's group for a Bible study at your church. Yes, you could. And by the way, if your church is telling you no, would I be wrong to say you ought to search for a different church? Not that there's anything wrong with that church, but if you feel God's calling.
Every Christian should be serving somewhere.
Yeah. All right. So that's kind of the conversation that we're having with Spencer Keroff from First Church of the Open Bible. Also, we're going to talk about, and I'm not sure I'm crazy about this whole idea of glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt.
You might enjoy it.
I might. Mike Nealand is here from Blue Journey. Bob Monster at the Cat in the Hat live here on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Afternoon, 21 minutes after 4 o'clock, 4:21, 10th day of March. Lord's Year 2016, lots of fun stuff going on today. We had a caller that I guess rather than come on the radio, just gave Frank his question, which is perfectly fine. And as long as it's okay with Frank. If the producer says, no, I'm not, like Ryan doesn't want to come on the air. So if you want to ask me a question, Ryan's going to say, well, you either ask it or you text it or whatever, but I'm not on the air. Frank has no mic shyness. So what is that question, Frank?
Well, we had a caller named Bruce, and he wanted to ask a hypothetical question. It's more aimed at Obama, but you could apply it to Donald Trump. If Obama would see the light and wake up one day and nominate Ted Cruz to the Supreme Court, where he could serve for upwards of 35 to 40 years, would that be a better trade than Ted Cruz serving 4 to 8 as president?
Yes. People have no concept that the real power in this country is on the court systems. And that could be Polk County Court, for all I care. The real power is the judge. You know, there's that Bible verse in Matthew, you know, do not judge or you'll be judged, or whatever that foolish little thing is. And the funny thing is, people will say, well, you're judging me. Well, do you know what the definition of a judge is? A judge is one who can deliver consequence. And I cannot deliver a consequence if I judge you and say, your hair's too long, or I don't think you're a good enough Christian, or whatever. That's discernment, right? Am I off on this? I guess I'm not. I shouldn't be telling the pastor. I should be asking. But I always tell somebody, no, I'm just discerning. I'm a fruit inspector. I cannot send you anywhere, good or bad, based on what I think of you. Only God can do that.
Well, that's the dangerous, even when somebody asks me about somebody's ministry, and they'll say, well, why do you think they're doing that? Or you think they're doing that just for the money? I can't judge their motive or their intent. That's what Matthew 7:1 is telling me not to do. Judge not, lest you be judged. I can't make that self-righteous, hypocritical judgment. However, I can judge what they say and what they do. That is being the fruit inspector that you just talked about.
But it's not judging, though. It's discerning.
Okay.
Well,
I think that's semantics right now.
Well, okay, let me tell you where I get that, and then we've got to move on to our topic. But I have someone very, very, very near and dear to me who is a former Superior Court justice. And she makes it very clear through that biblical message of what a judge is. Only God can judge. Only a judge can judge. I cannot judge. So when someone accuses me of judging, you're ignorant. You don't know. And here's the other thing, and maybe I'm just being a bad guy here. Judge not, lest ye be judged.
Right.
Okay, I'll be judged.
And if you're willing to be weighed in your own scales, if your judgment, if as you forgive and judge other people, if you're willing to be judged in your own scales, is also what it's saying too.
So I'm willing to be judged. By saying I follow Jesus, I lay my life out there in complete surrender and say, go ahead, God, beat the heck out of it. Tell me where I'm wrong. Help me chisel those character defects away. So I am saying I'll be judged. Therefore, I can judge you. But we can't judge, so let's not go down that road. Okay, thank you for calling and asking that question. I hope you got an answer. I would rather have a guy like Ted Cruz on the Supreme Court for 40 years than I would in Washington for 4 or 8 years. I don't know why anybody would want to be president. I really don't. Actually, when you look at Donald Trump, you can figure out why he wants to be president. It's the ultimate captain seat. It doesn't have anything to do with how he wants to run this country. All right. So Paul writes the letter to Corinth and says, I'm going to stay in Ephesus until Pentecost because there's a lot of good work for me to do, but there's many who oppose me. What if this letter was written to your ministry? Are you prepared to overcome those who oppose you, including yourself? Are you one that say, I'm not good enough for God to use me in that big a way? I'm not good enough to go to seminary. I'm not good enough to start a men's Bible study, a woman's Bible study, a children's Bible study. I'm not good enough to go on a mission. I'm just going to go and sit in the audience, and I sing in the choir at Christmas time, and I'll put my jingle in the plate, and that's all I think God made me for. Well, if you look at who really opposes you, and you could ask Paul, you'd say, are you sure this is a good opportunity? Because somewhere along the way, fear has become more of a decision maker in your ministry than the opportunity to reach the lost people for Christ. And you know where that comes from. That comes from the accuser. How do we, Pastor, gather strength from our relationship with Christ to go up against those who oppose us?
Well, first of all, I think it's interesting that he says, I'm going to stay here until Pentecost. So he emphasizes Pentecost. Well, what happened on Pentecost? The Holy Spirit came, empowered the believers. Acts 1:8, you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you. You shall be my witnesses. So I think there's a correlation even in that of saying, I'm going to stay here. God's doing some great things. I'm going to worship and remember Pentecost. Remember what he did when he initially filled the believers, and keep believing for greater infillings, greater empowerments to do what God's called me to do. But if you're never going to do anything for the Lord, if you're just going to sit in a pew, you don't need the power of Pentecost. And we've convinced ourselves that the only time we're really only going to see people saved is on Sunday morning at church. And if that's the only time we're going to see people become followers of Christ, the only one who needs the power of Pentecost is the pastor. And that is not the message of the New Testament.
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because there's so many pastors, and they're probably more old school pastors, that would tell you that you need to come before me, and together we'll ask God for forgiveness, and then we'll ask him to save you, and will, and through me. And if I understand this whole thing, Jesus came because there doesn't have to be any through me. It's directly you and Jesus. Yeah. Frank?
Well, let me ask Brother Keroff a question. You're obviously Pentecost, you're referring to the early former rain. You, I would assume, believe that there's a latter rain that will have some equal power that will go on at the end of time, that will probably bring about the coming of Christ. And if people aren't filled with the interpersonal indwelling of the Holy Spirit, most likely they won't know what it is and won't be able to receive it. Would you agree with that or disagree?
Well, the prophets talked about the early and latter rains as they were correlating the actual early and latter rains that happened for the crops. So you had the early rain, which would come and break up the hard ground from winter. Then you'd have the latter rain, which would ensure a bountiful crop. And then the prophets took that and talked about the outpouring of the Spirit. Joel does that in his book. I really believe that the early rain was the giving of the law, because the Jews celebrated the giving of the law on the day of Pentecost. The latter rain was the outpouring of the Spirit, the fulfillment of Pentecost in Acts chapter 2. So the law, what's the law given for? The law is to break up the hardness of the heart. And then the outpouring of the Spirit was given so that they could have a bountiful crop of souls. Jesus said, don't say 4 more months until the harvest. The harvest is ripe right now. So if you're asking, do I believe that there's going to be another latter rain at the end of time? No, I think we've been living in the last days, according to Peter, since the day of Pentecost. Acts chapter 2. This was what was written by the prophet Joel. In the last days, I'll pour out my Spirit on all flesh. So we've been in the last days since the day of Pentecost. And so we're in this latter rain. And now, obviously, there's debate on what you'd say about the Holy Spirit and Spirit baptism and what have you. But I do believe that, scripturally speaking, that the power of the Spirit was given so that we could be a witness. And that's not just for those who are called into full-time vocational ministry.
Absolutely. Do you believe in the theory that there are capital P pastors and small lowercase p pastors? You'd be a capital P.
Okay.
And I'd be a lowercase p.
I don't think he'd agree with that.
You think I'd be a uppercase P?
How about both lowercase p's?
Oh, really?
I don't know. What do you think?
If you're talking about the shepherd of the souls, that's Jesus. I'm just an under shepherd.
Okay.
If you're talking about the fivefold ministry of Ephesians 4, I have a very specific role in the body. It doesn't make me more important than anybody in the body.
No, I'm not saying that.
But my role in the body is to train and equip the saints for the work of ministry. Now, see, here's what we've done in the modern day church. We've gotten better, I think, in the last decade, but probably the last 100, 200 years, we've thought in this mentality, we've got to hire professional clergy to do the work of ministry. My job as a pastor is not to do the work of ministry. My job as a pastor is to raise up others and equip others to do the work of ministry. We need to be about releasing people into ministry. So even in the last just last year, as we've been thinking about our discipleship strategy at First Church, we've just really tried to simplify it. There's 3 things that we think you need to be involved in to grow as a disciple. You need to be seeking life together, which is corporate worship. You need to be doing life together, which is small groups. And you need to be bringing life together, which is ministry involvement. If you'll do those 3 things, you will grow as a disciple.
I like that, and I'm writing them down. Spencer Keroff is our guest. He's the pastor at First Church of the Open Bible, Beaver and Hickman. Services at 10 o'clock in the morning, but that's about to change.
Yeah, so Easter Sunday, we are launching a second service. So our services will be 8:30 and 10:30.
Okay.
And then Wednesday night, we still have our family night at 6:30. But yeah, so 8:30 and 10:30. And we're asking our people to really step up to the plate. We're asking them, hey, choose a service that you're going to serve at, and then you go to the second service and you worship. So which service are you going to serve? Which service are you going to worship? One's for you, and one's not about you at all.
So I might come to 8:30 to be taught, to be fed.
Yep.
And then at 10:30, I might get up and play the drums or speak or usher or help with Sunday school or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
All right. And also, you've got an interesting event coming up that I got to hear about. It's a glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, so it's our second annual glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt.
Oh, you've done this before.
We did it last year.
So you actually are making this mistake twice.
We did it last year. It was a great success. We probably had about 600 people with families and kids come from the Beaverdale area.
Yeah.
And that's really our heartbeat is that Beaverdale area.
Yeah.
So it's at Beaverdale Park on Adams Avenue. It's going to be on Friday, March 25th, 6 to 8 p.m. There's going to be face painting there. There's going to be inflatables there. We've got actually a motorcycle group that's been starting to come to our church that they're going to have their motorcycles there and just be chatting with people. We've got free popcorn, free goodies. It's going to be a great time.
Well, now, how do the eggs glow in the dark when it's not dark outside?
Well, we don't actually do the hunt until about 8 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So it's at the end of the evening, and they are actual eggs that do glow, and so they've been sitting under lights and being prepared, and then we go spread them out right before the hunt.
All right. You guys go do something for just a second. I just need to talk to Spencer for a second. So if I'm a kid and I see you walking around with a basket of glow-in-the-dark eggs and I see where you put them, I know where they're at. So it's really not a hunt. It's a retrieval. It's a glow-in-the-dark retrieval.
Okay, sure, if you want to call it that. But it's a lot of fun.
Okay. All right. Spencer Keroff is one of our guests today, First Church of the Open Bible, starting Easter Sunday, 8:30 and 10:30. And they've got a glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt coming on March 27th. That's
March
a Friday.
25th.
March 25th. I'm sorry. That's the Friday of Holy Week. And it's Good Friday. And there's going to be all kind of face painting and inflatables and balloons and popcorn, cotton candy, and colored eggs that glow in the dark. And that's at Beaverdale Park there at Adams. I know exactly where that's at. That used to be in my backyard. Love that neighborhood. All right, we're
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
.438, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Salem Radio Network News at the top, and then 1-888 Ask Hank. A worldwide live, everywhere live, call-in show. Hank, the Bible Answer Man, and he's good. I didn't like listening to him at first. Now I can't wait, because people call in with just great questions, and I don't know if he's like got a Google machine in his head, but boom, he knows it.
Yeah. He's very intelligent.
There are a lot of questions he gets that are the same. You know, he's on every day, so a lot of them he knows. But today, Dr. Michael Brown disagreed with him on something.
Really?
Yeah.
But
he said that they're good buds, and you know he agrees mostly with a lot of what he does. But there was one point that and I think that it's okay for people to disagree.
What do you remember what it was about?
No, I don't remember.
That's fine. All right, we're talking about 1 Corinthians 16, 8 and 9, when Paul says, I'm going to stay here in Ephesus until some stuff happens. And, we know what that stuff happening is. We call it, as I look at here, we call it Pentecost, because of a great door for effective work is open to me. But there are many who oppose me, and we're going to continue talking about that here in just a while, and challenging you on who opposes you in your ministry. I want to go to Blue Marble Journey founder Michael Neeland, who is following God's call to be a guy who puts together faith-based tours all over the world. And, of course, my favorite would be to go to the Holy Land. And one of the things that you do very well is you don't just put us off on a plane and give us a hotel key and say, I'll see you in 4 days. You actually have a guided tour, someone who knows what they're doing, who takes us to all the neat places in the Holy Land.
You bet. I'll accompany them, and they'll also have an inbound tour operator that's based out of Israel, and we'll give them a complete look at the Bible as seen through Christian eyes and as seen through Jewish eyes, which oftentimes opens their eyes a little bit from the standpoint of a lot of people don't think about the Bible in the context, in the land, and the culture that it was written. And oftentimes, I'm not a Bible scholar by any means, but a lot of trained clergy have had Greek and have studied Hebrew. And sometimes when you look at the Bible in that context, it's an incredible way to understand more of Scripture. And they get immersed in that for about 2 weeks. And we're excited. We have a trip coming up in May 5th to the 18th. I do have a few openings yet if they're interested. So, in fact, I had a few people sign up this morning, which was exciting. A lot of things going on there.
Now, all right, so if you've got an interest in talking to Mike about this kind of stuff, just call Frank here at the radio station, 244-0077. Right now, just call him. Give him your name and contact information, phone number, landline, text, whatever it is. It'll only go to Mike. And then he will call you back at a convenient time for you to sit and talk about this. Because I would have 100 questions.
Yeah. Mac, by the way, Bob was going to talk to you about an advance in his salary. He was going to sign up for the trip, but he needed a little cash.
You know what, Bob? I will double your salary this month.
It might take a triple or quadruple.
I'm good for it.
All right.
But you have to make me a promise.
And what is that?
Take Frank with you.
Oh, Frank would probably love to come, right, Frank?
Oh, sure, Bob.
But don't.
Anything for you, buddy.
But don't bring him back.
He'd probably like that, too.
Lose him. Bad. Spencer Keroff is here from First Church of the Open Bible after Easter, starting Easter Day, 8:30 and 10:30, 2 services every Sunday. I wrote a blog the other day because I realized that so many times I defeated myself in my own ministries because I felt opposition. And that opposition many times was in my own head saying, I'm not good enough. I can't be good enough to have God step up and want me to be in plan A. I got to be in plan B, or I'm just a little guy. I'm just supposed to take the money in the collection plate. I'm just supposed to teach Sunday school. I'm a. When in fact, he may be having you on a course to bring the gospel to groups of people in faraway places like Drake Neighborhood or Waukee or Beaverdale or Nicaragua, Colombia, China. But why do you limit yourself? And I had fun coming up with all the different places, all the different stories in the Bible where people surely could have just put it away. Like I think about Goliath. He could have tucked that sling and gone home. Said, oh, this guy's too big. Joshua marched around the walls of Jericho how many times? Moses faced Pharaoh. Esther chose to go to the king's chamber in order to save her people. That's an interesting story. Nehemiah faced physical threat and ridicule in rebuilding the wall around Jerusalem. All right, we can go on and on. Daniel, Noah, Paul, Steve, da-da-da-da-da. But the big one, of course, is Jesus went to the cross. That's the opposition he faced. Live or die. And he knew he had to die. So when you're a pastor, you are a pastor, when people come to you, I don't want names, obviously, what are some of the opposition that you find that they believe they're facing in meeting God's plan for their life?
I think we have to be careful because I know the nuance you're taking with that opposition. And then I think of Paul in Ephesus, reading Acts 19. He had a whole city in uproar that was against him, that was, trying to bring him before a false court and trying to kill him. That's very different than maybe me inside lying to myself and saying I can't do something. So the oppositions, I think, are different. And yet that is an opposition. It can come even whether it be my own flesh or it can be demonically, the enemy lying to me and trying to hold me back. And so, yes, that can be an opposition. I just think we have to be extremely careful with the opposition that Paul was facing. It was really from unbelievers who didn't get the Jesus he was trying to preach.
Or was it Jews?
Not in Ephesus.
Okay.
Well, not what he was dealing with in Ephesus.
Okay.
And so you think about that for just a minute. that kind of opposition, I still don't think that we fully have seen, even though we've seen pockets of persecution in America with religious liberty issues. Okay, we've seen that.
But that's not.
But it's nothing compared to what Paul was facing. And here's why I think that's true. We are still, and I'm just as guilty, we are still in a mode of Christianity in America where we want to be liked. And we want Jesus to be cool and trendy. And so, just accept this Jesus and just say this prayer, but he can be a tag on or an add on to your life, and that's not the message that Paul preached. Paul preached repentance, turning from your sin, turning to God. He's your only hope. Lifestyle of holiness. You see in Acts 19 in Ephesus where they were actually going out, those who had genuinely become believers, burning their books of magic, 50,000 pieces of silver. How millions of dollars that must have been worth. But they were giving it all for the sake of Christ. And I think if we had a church that rose up and did that, yes, a great work would be open to us, but many would oppose.
Frank?
Luke mentions that, that we will be sent out as sheep amongst wolves. Take not shoes, clothes, purse, script. And the question was asked, did ye lack anything? So I think the same call is for today, that we're sheep among wolves. So what happens when sheep get among wolves? Sheep get eaten.
Spencer Keroff has been our guest this hour. First Church of the Open Bible, 8:30 and 10:30 starting Easter Day. Now on Friday the 25th, what a great way to celebrate Good Friday, an Easter egg hunt. A glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt. So it's kind of like a Halloween Easter thing together. Face painting for the kids, inflatables, balloon artists, popcorn, cotton candy, eggs, and it's in Beaverdale Park right there at 3333 Adams. Just go east right there on Adams, right across from Holy Trinity, and keep going, and you'll run in to the big party. Thank you for coming in today.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. I love hearing your broadcast every day, 12:45 to 1 o'clock. I hope you don't mind all my texts today.
No, it's great.
Always got questions. All right, we're coming back. Chris Roloff will be here, and we're going to wrap up our conversations with Mike Needland about some of the real cool Christ-centered tours you can take with Blue Marble Journeys. Live here on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah!
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common, everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
.450, 10 before 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, Salem Radio Network News, and then Hank, the Bible Answer Man at 1-888-ASK Hank. Worldwide live show, and we happen to have it right here on the radio. He got into a great conversation yesterday. African-American man called in, and his son had always been a good Christian guy in the Catholic Church, and he got hooked up with a group called the Black Hebrews. Have you ever heard of that group? And the father was very concerned of whether this was a legitimate faith-based gathering, religion, denomination, or whether it was cultish. And unfortunately, Hank said it's probably more cultish. They're really driven more by race, and their belief is that all people were African Americans or they were African, they were dark-skinned, and we've gotten lighter, we haven't gotten darker.
There's a lot of scientific evidence to prove that, though.
Yeah, I know that. So it's an interesting conversation, but it's those kind of questions you can hear, and you can always call in and ask yourself, and if you're lucky enough, you'll listen when Frank calls in and tries to debate with poor Hank. Maybe they've banned him. Have they banned Frank maybe when he calls in?
He calls from different numbers, so he tricks them.
Oh, is that what it? And then he tries to use different names. Like I know one day he was Isabel.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't sound like an Isabel.
No.
Yeah. All right. So Mike Nealand is here from Blue Marble Journeys.com. BlueMarbleJourneys.com. And he's going on got a pretty cool trip that I think you're kind of impressed with, right, Chris?
I am. I'm really excited. Mike, thank you so much for hanging out for about 2 hours with us on the radio. It's a blast, isn't it?
Oh, having a good time.
Yeah, it's a blast. Love Mac's World, and if you're a regular listener, Mac calls it a zoo, and that's really what it is. I just love it. It's a place that you are always welcome to hang out at. But Mike, you and I have known each other for a little while, and when you were the one who actually brought this to me, you said, they're building the Ark, and they're going to be done this year. How cool is that? And I said, that's incredibly cool. To be honest with you, I hadn't been following it. I think I had heard some rumor that Ken Ham's people were thinking about doing that, but it's been done, or it's going to be done in August. And if you've ever,
No, it's going to be done. It's going to open 7/7.
Oh, that's right. No, that's right. I did hear you say that on September 7th, right? So,
July 7th.
That's July 7th. Well, February 19th.
February.
Thursday the 3rd. I don't even know. Anyway, the point is, then it will be finished.
You bet.
In time, you'll be able to see it. The point is, it's really cool. If you've ever wanted to see the Ark, Mike Nealand has the opportunity for you. Blue Marble Journeys has the opportunity for you to see the Ark. Words cannot describe how incredible this is going to be. My brain cannot fathom how huge this is going to be. I mean, pictures, I think I've seen model pictures and things like that. In fact, Mike, I was just at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention a few weeks ago. Answers in Genesis has a big showing on the floor there, and they had pictures of it. But, I mean, nothing is going to compare to actually standing in front of this incredible thing.
Chris, the Bible tells you it's 300 cubits by 100 cubits, so you got that figured out, right?
Totally got it figured out.
2 football fields long and 5 stories high.
Okay, what's a cubit?
A cubit? A cubit. That's there's a Cosby routine there, but we won't go there. The cubit is from the bottom of your elbow to the top of your fingers, and they thought it was about 18 inches or so.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I did not know that. Somebody had to figure that out.
That's right. Well, anyway, we've got a trip scheduled.
Shake the end of my cubic.
Something like that.
Would you like to shake my cubit?
No, I don't know where it's been. It's probably dirty.
Well, this trip is scheduled that we have available for people August 1st through the 4th.
Yes.
And that's timely. It's right before State Fair, right before school starts. So geared toward kids. If that time doesn't work out for you, you can get a hold of me at BlueMarbleJourneys.com, and I can at least give you information and set you up with what might work for you.
Absolutely. And we want to make this as easy for you as absolutely possible. It's the number, I want to give you the number that we give out every day that you can call in and talk to us on the radio. It's 515-244-0077. What I want you to do is call that number right now to get the details about this trip. Cost, room, all the different things sent to you, because we, as Mac pointed out, we just don't have enough time to really go into all the details. This is not a sales pitch. You're not going to be committing to going, but if you want more information on this trip to see the Ark, to encounter the Ark real live and in person, and to see the Creation Museum in Kentucky through Blue Marble Journeys. This is Ken Ham, Answers in Genesis Ministries. If you want to do that, call us right now at 515-244-0077. Frank will answer the phone, and he will get your name and your phone number, and we can or email, and Blue Marble Journeys can send you the details. We've already had people call and sign up. You can also text, I think, if you wanted to text us your phone number and the email, just say ARC and then tell us your name, because we'll have your phone number when you text us. The text number there is 515-809-0993. That's 515-809-0993. And Mike, before we kind of run out of time here, tell us why you started, briefly anyway, Blue Marble Journeys.
Well, I was an educator, public school educator of 32 years, and just felt God's calling to get involved in Christian ed. Was involved in Christian ed for a year, and while it was a unique experience to being able to pray in the classroom and focus on Christ through the lessons and such, I just felt that I needed to be more of a disciple and more of an apostle to get out and share a ministry, and I felt I had more impact reaching more people. Lots of people love to travel, and I want to give them some purposeful Christian reasons for traveling. If they're not interested in the Ark and creation encounter, I've got mission trips available as well. And as I mentioned before, we've got a trip going to the Holy Land in May 5th to the 18th. So I used to build trips and hope people would sign up for them. That crashed and burned real quick. So what I've found is if people are interested in something, talk with me about it. We can get them set up with a trip, or at least give them information where they can go on their own.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a really profound way to do it. A lot of times, Mike, you will have pastors or churches or men's groups or things like that contact you and say, we've always wanted to go do this trip, but we don't know how to organize it, especially when you think of going to the Holy Land, going to Israel. How do you do that? You are taking a trip to the Holy Land in May of this year. Are there seats still available to that trip?
You bet there are. In fact,
awesome.
I had some people sign up this morning yet. So
fantastic. So that is coming up in May. So if you want to get details about going to the Holy Land, you can call Mike Nealand, contact him. In fact, just make it really easy. Call us at 515-244-0077. We'll get your name and contact information to Mike if you want to go to the Holy Land. Mission trip down to do some work with the Voice of the Martyrs as well. But anyway, Mike, thanks so much for coming on the broadcast today.
Thank you, Chris.
Hey,
Mac, thank you.
Yeah, Mac, thanks for letting me hijack here the last couple of minutes.
That's all right. We had good fun with Spencer Keroff. I want to spend more time on my blog that I wrote the other day, because that blog, I only write like one blog a month.
Right.
And this one was really important to me because it's the Bible verse, 1 Corinthians 16, 8 and 9, where Paul says, I'm going to hang out here for a while, but because I'm in good company, but I've also got some opposition. And I want people to think about what's stopping them from completing their ministry or even starting their ministry. Because a lot of times it's not the opposition, the guy across the street, across the lawn, in the church, at work. It's your head. It's how you let the accuser get in your head and tell you you're not good enough. And you know what? You are good enough. You are exactly who God created you to be, and He's got a plan for your life. And when you surrender your life to Him, that will of God's will supersede your sinful nature of free will. All right, see you tomorrow live here on The Truth. That's rare.